Hi there. Are you looking to experience more love, more peace, and more abundance in your life? Do you want to wake up each day with greater purpose and feel more fulfilled? If you are, then this is the place for you. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey. Over the past 2 decades, our open and affirming community has created a safe space for all to come and be uplifted. I hope you enjoy watching, and if you like what you see, please visit us at cslnj.org.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. What a beautiful day. Look at these faces here. I'll tell you, this is nice. We've got listen, I knew we were having Reverend Dr. Ken, but to have Reverend Dr. Deborah as well. I mean, come on now. We're getting two for the price of one. This is a treat, I'll tell you. I'm not sure whether you guys are actually in Kelowna, Canada, or you live somewhere nearby there or whatever, but we've got you guys from up there. We've got Dawn Lee from up there. We've got Ty over in Japan. Ty's with us again today from Japan. So we're really spread out here. I'm telling you, this is fantastic. Um, I'm assuming the Pachecos are back from Portugal, so it's good to have everybody here. I really, really appreciate it. It's going to be a beautiful day. And do me a favor, a couple of little just housekeeping notes. If you would, please make sure that you are muted through the service because it really does affect the recording. If there's any noise on your end, that's great. If you would like to, there is the option in most Zoom screens where you can click in the top right-hand corner to get the speaker view, so that whoever is speaking will come up full frame on your computer there. So those things are great. And as I do welcome everybody in, let us welcome everybody with again saying who we are. It is in the chat for everybody to read. If you would, please read it along with me. We are an open and affirming science of mind community where the vibration of love lifts you, the wisdom of the ages inspires you, and the science of mind teaching empowers you. We believe that heaven and hell are states of consciousness that you experience in this lifetime, that you are the architect of your life, and that it is never too late to know true happiness, which is always good to know because I seem to be getting later and later. I'm glad to know it's not too late. There we go. It's good. We got to welcome the beautiful, wonderful, inspiring, joyful voice of Jesse Powers. Wonderful to have Jesse join us again. And for those of you as we go through here, Jesse, I believe it's jessepowersmusic.com if they would like to own your music. That's fantastic. Great. So you guys can always go there. So welcome, everybody. We're going to get started now with the opening chant from Jesse, and then our practitioner of the day, the wonderful Tony Hamilton, will be doing our opening treatment next after that. So, Jesse, it's all yours.
Thanks, Neil. This is a very simple chant. It's I am enough, I have enough, I do enough, and I am loved. You'll catch on. I am enough, I have enough, I do enough, and I am loved. Just like that. I am enough, I have enough, I do enough, ooh, and I am loved. I am enough, I have enough, I do part again. It goes, I am loved. I am loved. I am loved. I am loved. I am enough. I am enough. I have enough. I do enough. And I am loved. I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna wail it. I am enough. I have enough. Ooh, yes I do. I do enough. And I am loved. One more time. I am enough. I have enough. I do enough. And I am loved.
Because I know that there is a divine creative intelligence, infinite and unlimited, all powerful, all knowing, everywhere, evenly present. This one divine intelligence is life. It is the very essence of life. It creates all of life and expresses in and through and as life, continuously ongoing. This divine intelligence is in each and every one of us, and therefore each and every one of us contains, expresses, lives as all of the qualities and attributes of this one divine intelligence, as love, as light, as beauty, as peace, as wholeness, as joy, as power. And what I know and what I affirm for each one of us is that as we live, as we breathe, that spark, that light, that intelligence that I call God, Creator, Spirit, love, is expressing in and through and as each one of us, informing each one of us, expressing more fully, more completely the awareness of this divine intelligence as each one unfolds, expands, and deepens every day. And so as I walk through this life, as I live, I recognize myself. I recognize myself in the beauty that I see. I recognize myself in the eyes of another. I recognize myself in the breeze that I breathe in, that refreshes me and gives deeper life and greater understanding, that provides a deeper and greater connection for me. I recognize myself day in, day out. I celebrate the synchronicity that is just simply God expressing in and through and as someone else, something else, as the love, the peace, the wholeness, the beauty. And so I learn to look for this, no matter what else may be going on in this world. I learn to look for and recognize the presence of God expressing. I learn to feel the connection with whatever it may be that is God expressing, with whoever it may be that is God expressing. And deep within myself, there is a knowing, there is a peace, there is a certainty, there is the calm, the awareness that God is, the awareness that God is. And because God is, I am. And because God is, no matter what, all is well. And so I simply, with love and joy and deep gratitude, release this word into the law, knowing that it is already expressing, it is already continuously unfolding, it is already so. Please close with me. And so it is.
Thank you, Tony. Beautiful. And now it's September. How it got to be the middle of September, I don't know, but I do have a calendar. I kind of know how that happens, but we have our September affirmation, which I have just put in the chat for everyone. If you would please find it and read along with me. I am worthy and valuable simply because I am. This understanding encourages me to live authentically, aligning my thoughts and actions with the principles of love, creativity, and harmony, and to appreciate the present moment as a vital aspect of my spiritual journey. I have an interconnectedness with all life, reflecting the divine nature within me and the universe. And so it is. So now it is time for the reading for today. And with Reverend Dr. Kenn's title on Holmes' gift to the world, I chose a reading that is from one of my favorite sections of the textbook, which is how to use it. And I love that because I really do believe, and you've heard me say this hundreds of times, is the fact that we have this absolutely incredible, very, very practical teaching for us to live by. And this section on how to use it is very, very important. And he says right in the beginning of that section, one of the greatest difficulties in the new order of thought is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. And I really do believe that's true. And that's why we come together all the time. That's why we have the classes. That's why we meet, is to remind us how practical it is and that we need to put it into place. But I'll read from the last page of that section, page 60, in The Science of Mind. Perfect belief is the beginning and the end of all good mental work. The mental attitude of the practitioner, and no, that's a lowercase p he has there. Keep in mind that Holmes talked about practitioner, meaning all of us, not a capital P in this case. The mental attitude of the practitioner is one of the denial towards every false condition that opposes the principle of life as one of absolute perfection. God's world is perfect, and this is the principle we have to demonstrate. Spiritual things must be spiritually discerned, and when we are ready and willing spiritually to discern, we shall find a ready response from the invisible into the visible. Let us do our work conscientiously and thoroughly, and leave the results to that law which is perfect. A new light is coming into the world. We are on the borderland of a new experience. The veil between spirit and matter is very thin. The invisible passes into visibility through our faith in it. Excuse me, a new science, a new religion, and a new philosophy are rapidly being developed. This is in line with the evolution of the great presence, and nothing can hinder its progress. It is useless, as well as foolish, to make any attempts to cover this principle or to hold it as a vested right of any religion, sect, or order. The truth will out. The spirit will make itself known. Happy are we if we see these things which, from the foundation of the human race, have been longed for by all aspiring souls. True thought deals directly with first cause. And this science is the study of first cause, spirit, or the truth, that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff and intelligence from which everything comes. the power back of creation, the thing itself. Wonderful words, wonderful words. Uh, uh, Jesse, back to you.
All right. I've been dragging my feet again. Can't seem to get my mind on the right track. And it's been a couple of months now, and I keep hoping I'll get that high back. Why do I wake up to the sun and see only dark? Child, let it slide. There's a little piece of heaven right before your eyes. Child, give it up. 'Cause if you keep on keeping it, you're gonna miss so much in this life. Don't you remember that clarity that you were promising you'd never forget? Where is that in your mind now? Has it been crowded out by your bitterness? Oh, and you can't make people stay. You can only change yourself. Oh, and the sooner you let go, the sooner you make room for something else. Child, let it slide. 'Cause there's a little piece of heaven right before your eyes. Child, give it up. 'Cause if you keep on keeping it, you're gonna miss so much in this life. And I know it hurts, and it might be worse than you expected it would be. Child, look around, there's no one here now. You are your only enemy. Yeah. Oh, child, let it slide. There's a little piece of heaven right before your eyes. Child, give it up. 'Cause if you keep on keeping it, you're gonna miss so much. Oh, if you keep on keeping it, you're gonna miss so much. Oh, if you keep on keeping it, you're gonna miss so much in this life.
Wonderful, Jesse. It's always so good to have your voice. It's fantastic. Thank you. It's wonderful. Um, now it's time for me to introduce Reverend Dr. Kenn. After thinking about it and looking at it, if I introduced Dr. Kenn the way I'm supposed to, there would be no time left for his talk. I think Reverend Michelle used to refer to him as the Pope of the free world, if I recall correctly. He has been a friend of our center and been to our center a number of times over the years, and it's always fantastic to have him there. And I know that he co-founded the center in Kelowna with his wife, Deborah. And I found out today, I had not forgotten it, that was in 1993. So, we think we're big shots because we've been here 23 years, right? They've been here, just to flip those numbers, around 32 years. That center started back then. What I don't know is how long, Dr. Kenn, you were in this teaching before that, which I'm sure it was for a while. So, Dr. Kenn brings with us a lifetime, since he's only 40 years old, a lifetime of this work, this belief, this love for this teaching, and he did all that. Plus, he did serve, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. I know you corrected me once. I don't know if I got it absolutely right. He served as a spiritual leader for the Centers of Spiritual Living for 2 4-year terms. Prior to that, he was Religious Science International. President led that organization as well. The one thing we did have Reverend Michelle speak for us last week. And what I told everybody is this is such a privilege because what happened last week, what's happening today is we're able to avail ourselves, and please don't feel old when I say this, of decades and decades and decades between you and Michelle last week of metaphysics and new thought and science of mind and just you know, for me anyway, it's like being a sponge and just being able to take in all of this beautiful, wonderful wisdom that has come for such a long, long time. And I have been fortunate enough to be part of that for a short time to absorb it. But I will say this, all that's true about Dr. Kenn, but probably what I love most is he's a good man, loving, kind, compassionate, caring. Then that comes first. And that's why I'm just so honored to have him here today. So I give you Reverend Dr. Kenn Gordon.
Thank you, Neil. I appreciate it immensely. And you and Michelle and the Greater New Jersey Center have been so gracious to Deborah and I over the years. And it's always been a joy and always was a joy to attend and to go there and to speak and to participate with you. And you know, you're right. Michelle and I and Deborah and many more, we're definitely trained in the development and the building of consciousness through utilizing the science of mind. And really why I'm going to put it on a gallery so I can see all the faces. Really why I bring that up is because it's important for us to realize that this teaching, and the title of the talk, Holmes' Great Gift to the World, this teaching is not about the external that we utilize in order to bring forward the truth of the experience that we're talking about. We teach consciousness, and we use the outside world in order to be able to utilize it to teach, but the consciousness is the key. You know, Tony's treatment was perfect in warming the stage for me, because what she was talking about was the munificence of the truth of who we are, of love. And the same thing goes with the reading that you gave from Holmes. It all fits in perfection. And the spark for the title of this talk and what caused me to do it was at the conference in Banff, I was talking to some ministers, and they were telling me how everything that they learned in science of mind and everything that there is to learn in science of mind is all on the internet. And actually, Deb and I have been playing a little bit with AI and going on to Chat GTP and things like that. And she told me the other day that she'd brought up a treatment and asked Chat GTP, artificial intelligence, to create a treatment. And it was absolutely marvelous. It was spot on. It was perfect the way it was. It was perfectly presented. But the issue is that it didn't include the consciousness behind the treatment. And where we can get all of this information from the internet, from artificial intelligence, it does not really touch, at least at this point, on the consciousness behind the prayer. And as I said, most of us were raised in this church specifically, or this center specifically, this community, was really taught the principles of science of mind, which are the principles of development of consciousness. And the great gift that Dr. Holmes brought to the world was not only our ability to be able to help raise people into the consciousness of their own being, of the infinite intelligence of life, but in addition, he brought this little thing called spiritual mind treatment that he put into action. And you know, when I was the spiritual leader of Centers for Spiritual Living, and I was the president of RSI, one of the things, one of the great privileges I had was to meet people from other denominations and to make contact with them and to really experience the expression of what they thought about us. And I will tell you, they know spiritual mind treatment, and they know us as religious scientists as the ones who really bring it into the world and really manage to affect it and put it out there. I was invited to Unity, and we were talking about some integration projects that we were doing with the Unity organization. And I can remember I went to their headquarters in Lee Summit, Missouri, and I was invited in to tour everything, which was great. And I toured this huge building that they had, which I think was 3 stories high, filled with offices. That was their prayer center. And I walked through it, and they said, well, we have trouble getting people to do the prayers for us right now. We hired them out of Kansas, and this was before it was possible to get everybody online to be able to do it, or and some of the issues were around state issues with regard to hiring people outside. But they said, they explained to me how difficult it was for them to get people who know how to pray to do that. And in the early days of silent prayer, they were doing 30,000 treatments a day that were going out of there. And it was really the founding place of the Unity movement. And so I was invited into this, and I met with the head of their prayer group and their upper executive. And I remember we were in this large boardroom, and it was really unique because I'm sitting there, and all these people came in, and they all recognized me. They all knew me from Science of Mind magazine, and they were sitting there talking. And when I told them that at that point we had almost 9,000 licensed practitioners in Centers for Spiritual Living, they just about fell off their chairs. They clamored around wondering, how can you get that to work? And through our work with AGNT and through our work with Unity, what I discover more and more, and I'm certainly not saying it's something that they do all the time, but I'm discovering there are an incredible amount of ministers, Unity ministers out there, and didn't hurt that we introduced an agreement where we could trade ministers back and forth between Unity and religious science. But they are beginning to teach spiritual mind treatment in their centers, because they know that that's the gift. You know, the ministers I was talking to at the conference, they were saying, like I said, everything's available online, and I say, accept the consciousness. And that is the movement that we see. And I think that this gift that Holmes brought, and Holmes was a prolific writer and a sensational human being, and in his own right, probably one of the greatest healers on the planet. And what I find about it, or what I experience about his teaching, is his willingness to be able to understand that first cause is the only cause, and that we can utilize it and use it in how we do it. And so the excitement around it really begins to hit home when I begin to contemplate my experience with it. Because you see, when I entered into this teaching, which was early 80s, I guess, it wasn't the information that I received that was so valuable. I'd already been doing some work in the metaphysical field. I was already connected to various people that were out there, and the self-development groups that were there. So it wasn't the information that caught me. It was the ability to be able to transform consciousness. And the communities that we have, which are really, really powerful, they are communities that allow us to be able to practice on a regular basis till we get our feet warmed up enough that we can actually begin to move on our own. When I used to do the American management courses and things like that, which were all motivational, inspirational, I remember that I would go to a 3-day seminar in San Francisco, and I'd come home and I'd just be high as a kite. I mean, we've all been to that kind of a course and that kind of a class. And it was so great to feel that. And a week later, because I didn't have a community to be able to ground me, what occurred was it began to drift off. You know, I did so many time management courses that it became a waste of time. But it really was that working of being able to apply it and go every Sunday and every Tuesday to a class and every Wednesday for something else that really got me grounded in the teaching. And through that grounding, what I discovered was, once again, it wasn't the information I was receiving that was enriching me. It was the community and the transformation of consciousness. The recognition that there was something there deep within myself that I could awaken that would allow me to create a perfect life in the mind of God by emulating that spiritual truth. So as I began to do more work, I did a fair amount of work with the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries, which is a Methodist Pentecostal organization. And I went to a couple of their conferences, and I would show up at their conferences and everybody would know me. And the reason they knew me was through the Science of Mind magazine. And I was shocked to discover how many of them were subscribers to the Science of Mind magazine. And we'd go through these incredible 3-hour services that they would have, which were healing services and inspirational and moving services. And you know, the blood of Christ and tears flowing and all kinds of incredibly wonderful things that were happening and going on. And I was shocked to discover that they recognized in us what maybe we didn't recognize in ourselves, which is that we were one of the birthing places for the evangelical healing movement. And that birthing place has become something that I'm frightened what we might be doing is turning all the figures and the nonsense into what the truth of our teaching is, as opposed to realizing it's the transformation of consciousness. And it's the utilization of our tool and our skill that we use, which is spiritual mind treatment. I remember Dr. Jim Terrell from Costa Mesa telling me once that when he taught spiritual mind treatment, he was talking to a group of ministers, and he said, you know, we're so hung up on the way that it's presented. You know, we teach the 5-step treatment. I don't know whether everybody does. I think Michelle and you do, Neil. But that 5-step treatment is taught. And Jim said that when we teach it, it's like teaching a young child to drive a car. And I'm sure everybody here drives. And so think about the first time that you ever got into a car and started the motor and put it in gear. And you were probably with a teacher or with your parent of some kind. And I think about my experience, and it was like, okay, put your foot on the clutch, put your foot on the brake, ease it out, give it a little bit of gas. Oh, there's a stop sign, stop. Are you turning right or left? Put your blinker on. You know, all that stuff that went in there. And Jim was putting across that we teach spiritual mind treatment in the same manner when we start off. But he said, now think about it for a second. When you get in the car right now, you really don't think about any of that, do you? You get in the car and you start it and you drive, and I'm not saying you're unconscious, but it's so ingrained in you that you drive out to the street, you put the blinker on, you turn, you know what the rules are, you know what the laws are, you know how it works. and you don't think another thing about it. And when you drive to the grocery store and come back home again, you might remember the grocery store, but you do not remember driving there because it was so first nature to make it happen. And that's what Jim said we do with teaching spiritual mind treatment. We start off telling them the basics, and then through the utilization of practice, too much theory, too little practice, as Dr. Holmes said, Neil, what we discover is that it comes first nature to us, that we don't even think about it again. And that is the consciousness that Holmes was instilling in his students. And that's the consciousness that we choose to instill in our students, which is that we operate in that first tier all the time. It's within our own mind and within the way that we work, and we don't think another way. St. Paul said we should pray without ceasing in the Bible. And I can remember being a young boy growing up in for sake of argument, a Lutheran Methodist church. And I remember hearing that and thinking, I don't want anything to do with that. The thought of me kneeling on my knees and putting my hands together and praying without ceasing was not the lifestyle that I wanted to live. And it was only when I found metaphysics and found Science of Mind and Holmes that I began to equate the fact that what he was saying was your every thought's a prayer. Everything you're thinking is a prayer. And the power behind that, and the power behind the transformation of the individuals that have been through Dr. Holmes' courses and classes and teaching, is what transforms the world. Now, I'll tell you, Dr. Holmes wrote the textbook in 1926. And I don't think I'm rude if I say, he borrowed from everybody. He really did. I mean, you know, if you go through it, you can see information there that came from some other place. It's easy enough to track it down. He was a perpetual student, and he remembered and embodied what it was that he learned, and he put it into activity and action. So if you look at the textbook, what you'll find is that there's three major parts. Now, this was 1926, 1927. He, after that, went into Vivekananda and began to develop and grow and expand his understanding. But when he wrote the textbook, he had three basics that he was working on. The first one, which we all know the story, I'm sure of, was Ralph Waldo Emerson, where he found the book of the inspirational writings and began reading through it and getting involved with it. And it wasn't surprising. Most of us know that, because we study Emerson quite deeply, most of us know that Emerson was a congregational minister out of Boston. He took over his father's church, and at one day discovered that there was just too many rules that he didn't believe in or didn't agree with. So he quit doing Sunday services, much to the chagrin of his congregation. And he went out on the road, and every Wednesday he would be giving a speech somewhere and give a talk. And became known as an Emersonian speaker. And Holmes was, in the early days, an Emersonian speaker. He would travel around and he would give inspirational talks. But that wasn't good enough for Dr. Holmes, because he needed more to it. So in his studies, he ended up going to the Christian Science movement. Now, he never became a member, but you might notice that he stole the term spiritual mind treatment from Christian Science. But he went to the Mary Baker Eddy's church, and she was long gone, and he began to study that consciousness that was there, and came back with their teacher, one of their great teachers, which is Phineas Parker's Quimby. Now, where Emerson was inspirational and part of the transcendentalist movement and would motivate people to do what they could in life and to actually act and practice, not just theorize on it, Quimby was a mesmerist. He was a hypnotherapist. And he discovered, he's known as the father of New Thought for a reason, because he was the first one that we're aware of that put into words that there's only one mind. And that one mind is God's mind, and each of us are in connection with it. And how Quimby discovered this was he was doing hypnotism on people, and he discovered that he could hypnotize Donald Bay and heal Neil Pinkman. And he said that there has to be something that's in connection between these people. So Holmes learned that and brought that in. And he said, okay, so there's one universal infinite intelligence in mind, and it's available to all. And his contemplations grew and developed from there. Story goes, though, that he really didn't, he couldn't bring it all together until he met the next person, which was Judge Thomas Troward. And Troward was a judge, Anglican, or Episcopalian, Church of England. And he went to India and became a judge and was absolutely absorbed by their theology and decided that he was going to write a thesis on the similarities between Hinduism and the Church of England. And that's where he got his start moving, and he brought the logic in, which the logic is pretty basic, although it's written in 75 paragraphs without a period or a comma in the whole thing. But he brought it forward, and that main thought, I think, behind it is this, is that if we live in an infinite universe, therefore everything is infinite. Therefore, the attributes of that infinite intelligence must be love and givingness to the world around it, because if it weren't so, then anything else would be infinite as well, and that's the only thing that could be self-giving to give back out again. In other words, hate, violence, if it were an idea in the mind of God, it would be infinite, and we would self-destruct. And we would have self-destructed way before we ever evolved to this particular point in our life. So with those three, he built and wrote the textbook. And from that textbook, in some of his later works, spiritual mind treatment began to take form and come back out again, which are the 5 steps, or 7 or 1. It doesn't matter, because it's like driving a car. We learn how to do it so it's first nature rather than second nature. In, I think, 2007, I was invited to speak at a United Church of Religious Science, Asilomar. And Deborah and I went with Dr. Casey Greiba, as a matter of fact, who was part of our church at the time. And I can remember we went, and they had a speaker there by the name of Ron Roth. Now, Ron Roth was a faith healer. I don't know whether any of you have heard of him before, but he was a faith healer. He started off as a Catholic priest, became a chaplain in the military. When he got out of the military, he began a practice of faith healing and became quite well known late 80s, early 90s, into early 2000. And I remember he came and gave a talk at Asilomar, and he was standing on the stage, and I paraphrase, he said something along the lines of this: "You guys are crazy." He said, "You know, you invented this stuff. You're the ones who did healings before anybody else did. And you don't utilize your own practice. You're not using it to put it into activity and into action out there. You know, you calm down and settle down your centers in your churches, but you really don't utilize your own fundamentals in being able to do it." And he told the story of how he discovered he could be an evangelist. He said, when he first started out and came back from the military and his chaplaincy, he was seeking work as a minister. So he came out of Ohio, and he got a speaking engagement at this little church in Kansas. And he said, "You know, I drove to the church. It was quite a ways away, and I drove, and I had the address, and I kept looking at it, and I found myself in the middle of the prairie at a crossroads of two roads coming across each other. And he said, I was driving along, trying to figure out where I was going to go. And there on the corner was this one little building that was a church. And he said, well, that must be where I'm going to go. And everything else was fields, was all blank around him. So he drives in and he goes inside the church and he says, hi, my name's Reverend Ron Roth, and I've been hired to speak here tonight. There wasn't a soul in the building except for the janitor. And he said to the janitor, am I in the right place? And the janitor said, oh, Reverend Roth, you're in the right place. This is perfect. You're here. You're going to speak at 7 o'clock tonight. And Ron looks around. There's nobody around. There's nobody in the church. There's no cars parked out front. He says, okay. So the janitor goes back cleaning up the place. And Ron sits in the front pew and thinks. And about a half hour later, people started coming into the church. And he says, wow, they're beginning to show up. And he gets up and goes outside, and coming in from all four ways of the street, he sees headlights. And they're all pulling in and pulling off into the field. And pretty soon the place is packed to bursting, and there's people standing outside. And the janitor gets up and introduces him to speak. So he gets up and he said, I did a really great service. He said it was really, really a wonderful service. And at the end, I concluded and said, and thank you so much. And everybody was silent. Nobody said a thing. Nobody clapped. Nobody moved. They all just sat there staring. And the janitor whispers to somebody beside him and stands up and says, excuse me, Reverend Roth, but would you mind praying with us? And Ron said, no, I don't, I'll give a prayer. And he said, that's when it dawned on him. And so he stood up there and he began to pray. And people began to come up on the stage, and he was healed and he was doing his thing. And he said, I'd never done it in my life before. I never even thought of doing it. And he said people were walking, throwing their crutches away and walking out the door. There were families coming up and they were being healed right, left, and center. That's when he said, you guys are dummies. You're the one who introduced this. You are the people who brought this into being. You are the people who created this, and you don't use it anymore. He said, we have the capacity and the power within us to transform the energy of a room. And through the transformation of the energy of the room, especially with a community that comes together and is collective there, what we can do is bring healing into the world if we just remember the basic facts, which is there is only one God. And that God works in absolute perfection through each and every one of us as we sit here. He said, and you guys were trained that way. I remember Arlene Bump, Dr. Arlene, telling Deb and I a story once that when she was a young minister, she was in Monterey, California, and her husband, Oscar Pitcock, was the minister there. He'd taken over from Carlton Whitehead. And Arlene told us that one day, a congregational family of theirs came into the Monterey church, and their daughter had been put in the hospital. And they said, Reverend Pitcock, will you please come and pray for her? And Oscar said, you bet I will. But let me tell you something. I'm going to clear that room. This is not going to be your normal thing. And there was this little girl, don't know what was wrong with her, but she was near death. And Oscar and Arlene walk into the room with the parents. And Oscar says, get out to everybody else that's in the room. And he stands next to the little girl and he puts his hand on her forehead and his hand on her stomach. And Arlene said, and he prayed. He prayed with all of the energy and truth that we were all taught, that we know within ourselves. And she said, 3 days later, that girl was out of the hospital and healed. We know how to do this. We're too shy or too something that we're not utilizing and using it. The greatest gift that Holmes could dream of to bring into being, and we don't even utilize it in our own way in our own utilization and use. George Bendel tells the story of Dr. Holmes in the early days, and he gets into a car, and it's one of the first cars with power windows, and he closes the door, and Bendel pushes up the window, and Holmes's hand gets caught in the window and begins to ooze blood out of his hand. And Bendel said to Holmes, let's go to the hospital. I'll take you to the hospital. And Holmes says, no, just drive. They were going to some event somewhere. He said, just drive. And he held his hand, and quietly they drove the 15, 20 minutes to where they were going. And Bendel said that when he turned to him to see how he was doing, his hand had stopped bleeding and he was healed. This is what we know how to do. Now, it does take way more practice than theory. You know, the words that I just used and the stories that I just told, they're the external. The internal is the truth that we know and we can resonate with, and that's what we seek. We don't seek to be able to clickety clack on our computers and come up with a beautiful treatment from AI. It's a nice thing to do. It's wonderful. What we're about is developing the consciousness to utilize it and teaching others that that's the awareness that is required in order to really put it into manifestation and to create it and bring it into being. To do it as the way that we do it rather than trying to figure out how we do it, like driving the car. To make it the first place we go to, not the last place. What the world needs, in my opinion, right now is they need a whole bunch of us doing this. I've often given the story of the big balloons that they fill with air, and you can get inside the balloon. If you've ever seen those pictures, and you can walk on water in them. And the way I view what's happening in the world is that there's 7.5 or 8 billion of us that are inside that balloon. And there is a small majority, not majority of the 8 billion, but a small group of people that are headed in one direction. And then there's this mass of 7.5 billion people in the center that are going the way the balloon goes. They're not fighting and struggling with it, they're walking with it. And then there's us on the other side trying to go in a different direction. And let's say there's 500,000 people that are moving left or right, and they're right. And there's 500,000 people moving, there's a group of us moving left, and there's the bulk of humanity in the middle that go the path of least resistance. We don't need 4 billion people to be a majority. We just need more with our consciousness moving this way than they have moving that way. And it will create a path of least resistance for the bulk of humanity to turn and shift and going in the other way. And the way that you do it is not by fighting, because that's not an attribute of spirit. If it were, we would have self-destructed. It's not by hating, because that's not an attribute of spirit. If it were, we would have self-destructed. What and how you do it is by having the ability to go to first cause as a natural way in the first step that you take in your thinking, and that takes training. Trained mind is more powerful than untrained mind, Dr. Holmes says. And that's what we do, is we train minds. And I'm not knocking AI, but it doesn't train minds as effectively as we can right now. And the impact that we've had on the world around us through this teaching has tentacles and tendrils that have gone out and that are touching people all over the place. When you think about one of the problems Unity said that they had with their prayer groups or their prayers was that they weren't trained, and there was a lot of fear and anger that was involved in the prayers. Well, our practitioners are neither fearful nor angry. They know what they're doing. And that's the type of professional people that we need to transform and to move into that 500,000 to move this consciousness of this planet. I forgot to time myself, so I don't know whether or not we have any time, but let's pray. Let's put it into action. Let's make stuff happen. You know, it's funny because I've been thinking about it, is that just about every prayer that I give, I start with the same affirmation at the beginning. And it occurs to me it's because that's my training. I have a golden key that I utilize, that I've done for 40 years, that immediately moves me to that place of connectivity. So let's do this. I believe in God and absolutely nothing else. I know that I am totally and absolutely connected with this, for it is infinite, and therefore I must be part of it, for there cannot be two infinities. Right here and right now, I speak my word, recognizing and knowing the truth of each of us, each of our lives, of our movement, of our teaching, and of the world around us. And I recognize and know that that power that is the infinite intelligence, which is your intelligence, my intelligence, and all intelligence, operates through each and every one of us in such a way that not only those of us present here, but everyone who is receptive to the idea is connected in this treatment. I recognize and know that that power, that spirit, operates in us in such a way that right here and right now it draws into our consciousness everything that is required and everything that is necessary to live the life of spirit here on this plane. Furthermore, I know that it dissipates and dissolves anything that is unlike itself in our consciousness. Accepting this, I know that we move forward with love, with light, with peace, with joy, with an expansive idea that aids in the evolution of humanity in such a way that peace reigns, that love reigns, that prosperity reigns, that wholeness reigns, that balance reigns. And simply having spoken this, I know that it is done, and that my life, your life, and all lives are changed at depth. Accepting this, I know that that power moving within us, as I stated, brings forward all that is required and dissolves anything that is not required. So therefore, our lives are changed in such a way that from this moment forward, nothing is the same. Accepting and expecting this, I give gratitude that it's already done, it's already so, it's already complete, for it is the infinite idea that is not bound by time or space. And I release this treatment back into that universal mind, knowing that it is already so. And I seal it by saying, and so it is. Bless you all. God bless you for the work you do.
Let's all sing the classic Karen Drucker tune. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. Bring all your blessings to the front of your mind. Really, really visualize and feel how freaking blessed we all are. Here we go. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. 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 I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Thank you, Jesse. Beautiful again. Beautiful. And we are so blessed. We're so blessed every moment of every day, but today in particular. And Dr. Kenn, thank you. That was tremendous. That was just uh, well, let me put it this way. This is why we have a YouTube channel, right? This is recorded. And I will tell everybody here, this is a talk you should go back and listen to again and again. And do not lose the link. As a matter of fact, thank you to Joe Schneider, who's the one who puts it up on the YouTube for us. By Tuesday, it'll be in the newsletter. This is something that you should share. We just learned science of mind. We just learned about spiritual mind treatment. We just learned why we come back every week to get reminded. And I know many people here have been doing this for a long time, and that many people here think, well, I've done it. Well, I've been there. Well, I know that. But the inspiration that I got from today's talk to stimulate me and refresh my mind and where I am is tremendous, and we all need that on a regular basis. So, Dr. Kenn, thank you. Just phenomenal, fantastic. And before I jump over to our gratitude portion, I do want to mention, I mentioned before that Reverend Dr. Deborah Gordon is here with us today, but a lot of you people may not know her dedication and that she is actually now the co-chairperson for CSL International Leadership Council. So I guess like 40 years in it for her wasn't enough. I mean, she's still working so hard, and this organization needs that kind of support and help. And I think we got to give her a round of applause for the work that she's doing and the dedication she has. And Deborah, would you like to just say a word as long as you're here?
I just say good morning, and it's lovely to be here. And I am the proud chair. There ain't no co. It's just me, chair
Oh,
of the.
you're the chair. Oh, okay.
I am it. So if you have any compliments or complaints, you can just send them right here. And I just want to say it's really nice to see you guys. And Kenn, that was a spectacular talk. That's really what I want to say. So, and it's nice to see some of you that I've seen through time. So thank you so much, Neil.
Yeah, thank you. And for all your dedication too. So, all right, now we do go over to our time to show our gratitude. and for our conscious giving affirmation, and it's again, we do need the donations in order to continue, but we need the inspiration that comes from everybody and everybody's time and effort and loving and caring and volunteering, just like I mentioned Joe Schneider and all that he does, and all the work that our leadership council does, and all the people who have done this work for so many years in order to get us to where we are today and have these advantages and have this knowing and having this teaching and be reminded about spiritual mind treatment and how powerful our consciousness is. So with that, would you please join me in reading the conscious giving affirmation, which I just put into the chat. I bless this gift that I give today. I give this gift from my heart, and I give it mindfully. May my gift go further to heal, prosper, and bless this center and all who enter. I accept all good that comes as a result of this flow, knowing that it returns to me multiplied abundantly, and so it is. And Ken, you talked about AI and technology, and a lot of people got, oh, I'm zoomed out after particularly the COVID time, but we used it way before COVID in our community, and it's been wonderful. And when I look just here today, and technology wise, we do have we've got people from Canada, a couple of people from Canada. We've got somebody from Panama. We've got somebody from Mexico. We've got somebody from Japan. Gosh golly, we have somebody actually from Brooklyn too. So, yeah, we just go all over the place. And it's wonderful to be able to use the technology in order to help people gain that consciousness. And it is just fantastic. We have a few things going on that I'll just let everybody know about that are great opportunities. First of all, next week on the 21st, we have Tony Hamilton who will be with us, bringing us time travel, revisiting 1927. Tony, I have a feeling that you just got a great lead in today about 1927 from Dr. Kenn for your talk next week. So that's going to work well and be a fantastic talk as usual with her. And we do have a couple of things coming up, which I know you're going to want to know about and participate in. And that is we have the what is it on the 16th? No, oh, sorry. That one is no longer there. I shouldn't have had that in. The spiritual insights are done with Reverend Michelle. But then we have Finding Peace and Presence at the End of Life with our own Beth Bachman, who is going to share her wisdom as a death doula in preparing for death and dying, and that starts in October. So you still have lots of time to sign up for that. And then another part that is really, really important in what we do that has helped so many in our community since COVID, in particular when we started using this fund in an aggressive way, and that is our InReach program. And we can use more donations to help build up that fund of InReach for people that are struggling, that have been unable to find work or been laid off recently because of all different reasons that are going on. And we love to be able to help out where we can and support our community members in that way. We do outreach, and that's fantastic and that's wonderful, but we have InReach as well in order to help our people here. So with that, I think that before I let you guys all chat it up and say good morning, we got another great song from Jesse. So Jesse?
We have a celebrity in our midst, Reverend Dr. Kenn Gordon. It's like,
oh,
I never get to see him. All right. This song is called Beautiful Day. It has a part for you. I think I played it before, but you might not remember. Also, Jesse doesn't have an I in it, just so you know, Reverend Neil. Anyway, your part is this. Everybody get up. Oh, it's a beautiful day. Everybody get up. part. And then your other part is, on the count of 3, I want you to give me your most primal and satisfactory huh. So on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3, huh. Right, yes. And since you won't hear the collective huh, just feel it in your bones and know that it's there. Here we go. I wake up early to the morning sun. I don't know how it does it every day. It rises up and then it falls again. Born only to die away. Yeah, look in the mirror and I see myself. I don't know how I do it every day. Standing on this big blue rock, not knowing what I'm doing here. Still believing there's a reason, keep on keeping on my way. Each time I open my eyes, that's when I get to decide how I am gonna show up and show out in this life. Everybody get up. I didn't count, sorry, oh, it's a beautiful day. Everybody get up. We'll catch it on the next one. Oh, it's a beautiful day. Sing it again. Everybody get up. Oh, it's a beautiful day. One more time. Everybody get up. Oh, it's a beautiful day. Look at the clock, it's running day and night. Got no control in those little clock hands. A little soldier just marching through time. Well, I'm so glad I am not a clock. I am alive and I can choose to dance. Each time I open my eyes, that's when I get to decide how I am gonna show up, show out in this life. Here we go, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody get up. Oh, it's a beautiful day. 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 Oh, get up, get up, get up, and be grateful. I'm up, I'm up, I'm up, and I'm thankful. Get up, oh, get up, oh, get up, and be grateful. I'm up, and I'm ready to play. Yeah, everybody, get up. Why? Because it's a beautiful day, duh. Everybody get up. Oh, because it's a beautiful day. Yeah, yeah. Everybody get up. Oh, because it's a beautiful day. Everybody get up. Oh, because it's a beautiful day.
At the Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, we believe in empowering individuals to discover their inner strength and their connection to divine life. Through our supportive community, transformative workshops, and uplifting services, we provide a safe space for personal growth and spiritual exploration. Whether you're seeking clarity, healing, or a deeper understanding of life's mysteries, our center offers practical tools and timeless wisdom to help you thrive. Join us in creating a more diverse, compassionate, and kind world. Your world, the way you want to create it.